Welcome to Find Myself Free, the podcast. I'm Ellie Young, alcohol-free life coach, mom, and athlete. I'm dedicated to helping others change their relationship to alcohol by sharing my journey of transformation. Fascinated by my own capacity for change after decades of gray area drinking, I'm passionate about sharing what I've learned from neuroscience and positive psychology to help you break free from the drinking cycle and unlock your true potential. Hear my personal stories of triumph and struggle as I navigate raising two boys, finding myself after 40, building a business, and doing it all alcohol free. From women's health and cycle syncing to fasting and biohacking, this podcast is your roadmap to a healthier, purpose filled life that starts with changing your relationship to alcohol. It's time to embrace change, find balance, and create the life you were meant for. Welcome to Find Myself Free. Hey, everybody. Before we get to the show, I wanted to invite you to check out my new free resource. It's called Breaking Up with Booze. Check out the link in my show notes. But essentially, this is just a free guide where I break down the two most common beliefs that are keeping women stuck in the drinking cycle. Now, I know what you need. You want to feel confident socializing alcohol-free. You want to be able to manage your stress, but without the crutch of alcohol. And ultimately, we all want to experience joy and connection without the hangover. So this is a completely free resource that you should check out, Breaking Up with Booze, because I know you are finally ready to level up your health. So check it out today. Head on over to my show notes and get the link. I hope to see you there. Hey everyone, I'm excited to announce that I am now an AG1 Ambassador, and I wanted to share with you why I'm so passionate about this amazing product. AG1 has become a key part of my daily routine. Every morning, I start with my day with a scoop of AG1, which is packed with 75 high-quality ingredients, including vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and adaptogens. It's all about giving my body what it needs to feel its best. Personally, one of the biggest benefits I've experienced has been immune system support. I've noticed that when I'm traveling or life is hectic and I'm not taking as good of care of myself, I feel better when I'm taking AG1 and I have peace of mind that I'm getting comprehensive nutrition to support my busy lifestyle. Another benefit I've loved is how AG1 supports my metabolism. I've noticed that as my cycle and hormones fluctuate, I have less cravings, I feel less bloated because I'm supporting my microbiome. As an ambassador, I'm thrilled to offer you an exclusive deal that you can't get anywhere else. This is literally the best deal that they offer, and it's only available through ambassadors like myself. With your first purchase as a new customer, you'll get a free 1-year supply of D3K2 drops to support your immune system, 10 free AG1 travel packs, and a 30-day supply of omega-3 pills. Wow. So I've really enjoyed how easy it is to make AG1 part of my daily routine, and I think you will too. If you're ready to start your journey to better health, check out uh, in the show notes my ambassador link and make sure you purchase through that to receive my ambassador deal. If you'd like to try a few samples beforehand, you can always email me at Ellie, ELLY, at findmyselffree.com, and I have some samples that I can send you. Now, on to the show. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Find Myself Free. I'm going live today with my podcast and on Instagram so that I can share with you 3 ways to plant seeds of change. Now, this time of year can be really hectic. We're heading into the holidays, and a lot of people put off any type of change or progress or self-improvement kind of stuff until the new year. They're like, okay, I'm putting it off till January. That's when I'm going to really start to like double down on this stuff. But this podcast is all about how you can actually be preparing your brain now for that type of change to take place. So you can really hit the ground running in January, because it's the biggest flex is up here. It is not your willpower. It is not, um, you know, just a matter of you trying so hard. This isn't about discipline. This is quite literally about shifting your subconscious programming in your brain. And it can be done. You can start planting these seeds of change now. Now, yes, right smack in the middle of holidays, right? So the 3 ways that we are going to be going over today that you can actually start to plant seeds of change in your subconscious that you can then harvest in January when you really want to hit the ground running is one, you have to start believing that change is possible and that that a plan will in fact work for you. Whether you were trying to change your relationship with alcohol, whether you were trying to start a diet, balance your hormones, lose weight, feel better, all those things, start a workout plan. You have to believe this is a function of the placebo effect, which we will get into more. Second, you want to be aware of the content that you are consuming and how it is shaping you. And you need to curate content that is going to further help you grow, help you open your mind to change and possibility. So it's the content you're consuming. And 3, it's the environments that you are placing yourself in. Our environments shape us, right? So we have to be very, very intentional about the people we're placing ourselves around, the places that we are going, the environments we are creating for ourselves, because our brain is so used to automaticity in certain environments. So it is really, really impossible to change. In fact, I posted this awesome quote today in Instagram that I grabbed from someone else. I'm blanking on it right now, but you can see it in Instagram that said, you can't expect to heal in the same environments that made you sick. Something about your current environment is not supporting you, right? You need to shift the things in your environment in order to help your brain have a different experience, have a different response. So we'll get more into these as we get going. But first one I wanted to dive into is the belief. How do you actually convince yourself that something is possible? A lot of us go into change kind of hopeful. We might be motivated, we might be inspired by someone else we saw online doing the thing. But whether or not you actually believe it's possible for you is a whole nother bag of business here, right? A lot of times we start these things and we go, you already kind of shoot yourself in the foot because you go, this is going to be hard. This probably isn't going to work for me. I'm different. I have a different body type. I have a different history. And, this is going to be so much harder for me than it is for everybody else. I totally believe that about myself. I have struggled with my weight, with fitness, I've always loved health and fitness, but I have never fully in my brain looked the part of somebody who was really, really into this stuff. I thought I should be ripped all the time, right? So I always still kind of harbored this belief that like this stuff just doesn't work the same for me. I compare myself to my friends. I compare myself to people online. And I'm just like, God, I'm doing so much. Why? And deep down, it's because I don't believe that it's possible for me, right? That all can shift and it's a function of the placebo effect. So this is, understand the placebo effect is like they give you something and they say, this is going to help. This is going to change you. Right. And the people fully believe that they're taking the medicine, right? They're taking the thing that's going to help fix them, cure them, improve their symptoms. Right. And the belief then actually turns on chemistry in the brain to start healing the body. This is a documented phenomenon. This is a real thing. And so, how do we harness that part of our brain that once you believe that things can get better, that you can change, that this is going to work? How do you actually harness that? And it's very, very tricky because you cannot tell yourself lies. You cannot tell yourself this is it's called toxic positivity, right? That's why we're mantras. If you're looking at yourself in the mirror every day going, you're beautiful and you're worthy, but you're kind of like, oh my God, this is bullshit. I don't believe in this. It's not going to work for you. Manifestation is not going to work for you. So you have to actually believe that this change is possible. And part of believing it's possible and it's going to work for you leads me into the next part. The narratives that you are telling yourself, the narratives of possibility for yourself are largely shaped by the content you are consuming. Now, I'm a science geek. I really love studies. I really love to read books. I really like to geek out on the science of why things work. And that, understanding the science of how things work is really how I cultivate belief in that something is actually going to work for me, because I'm like, oh no, it makes sense. This makes sense to me, right? And so that's the content I consume. I love to listen to Huberman Lab. I love to listen to doctor driven podcasts that are citing the latest studies, that are citing the latest science, especially as it relates to women's health, right? So me consuming that content, it is helping to shape not only my belief that these things will work for me and that this type of change is possible, but it's also giving me ammunition that is sitting now in my subconscious that is actually shaping the way I behave, because I'm like, oh, wait, I know, if I'll go back to the alcohol one, like once I learned the science of what alcohol was actually doing to my nervous system and to my pleasure circuits, how it was artificially spiking my dopamine only to have dynorphin come in and pull me lower. So that explains why I felt so low afterwards. And then your body responds with adrenaline and cortisol, creating anxiety and stress in your body, stress hormones. And you're like, whoa, 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 hold on. Like I had no idea this cycle was happening in my body every time I drank. And not only the day after, but for multiple days after. And so knowing that information, it actually made it so much harder for me to be like, if I'm stressed, I'm reaching for the bottle of wine and I'm like, wait a minute, this actually isn't going to help me, right? I know now this is going to make things worse. So, right? So this content, learning new information, it helps to open your mind to new possibilities. And so you cannot go into this type of change with a closed off mind, believing that you already know everything there is to know about this stuff, right? The biggest challenge with alcohol is that we have been subconsciously conditioned for decades to see it. I wouldn't say to see it as harmless, but it's been so normalized to drink at such volumes and for every reason under the sun that we never question it, right? And so now this the cognitive dissonance state you're in when you're really wanting to change, but your subconscious is like, no, 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 drink, drink, drink. It's all good. Keep drinking, right? That little discomfort, it's really, really challenging. But when you start to fuel that subconscious with new information, new content that is going to change what you think, how you think and feel about alcohol, because you're like, oh wait, I've got new information. I've got new information. This now doesn't hold true. This narrative that I've been telling myself about alcohol, it no longer holds up. It no longer holds its weight. And so that's how you start to chip away at these subconscious programming. So a lot of what consuming new content is and surrounding yourself with it, because our worlds are so filled and flooded with pro alcohol messages, right? That we almost have to reverse brainwash ourselves. You have to really surround yourself with the content that is actually going to be saying the opposite, and that is going to be, convincing you can have a good time alcohol free, that you don't need it to relax and have stress, that it's actually causing lots of damage to the body. I always recommend to my clients, when they're ready, to listen to the Huberman Lab. It's like a 2 or 3 hour long podcast, so it takes some time to get through, but it is devastating to hear just how bad alcohol is to your body. I mean, like I was like depressed afterwards because I was like, oh, how much damage I did to myself. All those years of drinking, and really like while I was also trying to be super healthy all the time, while I was like running half marathons and going to the gym and going to SoulCycle and taking crazy amounts of supplements and doing all the crazy things for my skin and just trying to be this like epitome of health, while I was just pounding all the alcohol. And so that Huberman Lab episode, it hammers into you the actual effects of alcohol on your health. And that information is hard to unlearn. And again, when you consume content like this, it starts to shape you. You are not going to look at alcohol the same anymore. You're just not. And it will change you. And so this is why the content you are consuming. And sometimes you're like, you know what? I don't want to listen to like self-help stuff. I don't want to listen to science stuff. I don't want to geek out on all this kind of stuff, right? That's fine. If you're not ready to like dive into content that is actually going to like kind of educate you and help work on these subconscious beliefs about alcohol, that's fine. But just be aware of the content you are consuming and how many messages you are getting about alcohol kind of being the elixir to life and being the savior. I mean, I watch football with my kids. I can't count the number of alcohol commercials that aren't even really about the alcohol. They're selling you bonding, they're selling you joy, they're selling you happiness. And this is all affecting you on a subconscious level. And this has been going on your entire life. And then of course, you have a hard day. And what does your girlfriend do? The first thing she says is like, let's go get a drink, right? All of this stuff, once you turn on your awareness to just how ubiquitous alcohol is in our culture, you're going to start to realize like, oh, no wonder this is so hard to shift and change in myself, right? And that's why it takes really, really intentional efforts around changing your beliefs, changing the content you're consuming. Is it supporting you? Is it actually helping you change? Or is it just kind of keeping you status quo, right? That leads me into the next one. And this one is one of the biggest ones, and it's one of the hardest ones to change. It is your environments. So again, I'm going back to that quote. We cannot heal in the same environments that made us sick. Now, this one scares people because they don't want to change their lives. One of the biggest fears about giving up alcohol or changing their routines and getting into like a healthy lifestyle is that they have to give something up, that they're inherently sacrificing some type of joy, some type of pleasure in their life. And like, oh, you only live once. I want to be able to like live my life. And it's, the irony there is that alcohol is quite literally dulling your experience in life. It numbs your brain, it numbs your prefrontal cortex, and you actually take in more information when you are alcohol free. All of your senses are turned on and you remember more, and your life is fuller and more vibrant, and your experiences are not under booze goggles, right? Because you have the full capacity of your brain. So let's get back to the environment. So you have to pay attention to the environments you're placing yourselves in. Your brain loves automaticity. It wants to be as efficient as possible. So one of the cues that the brain is always looking for is, what environment am I in? And what is our habitual patterns in this environment? It can be people, it can be places, it can be times of day, times of seasons, it could be holidays, right? Weekends. Your brain is going, okay, how much can I put on autopilot in this environment? And so when you are just trying to stop drinking or just change a new behavior and not do the behavior that you're trying to change. You're just like, I'm just not going to do it, but I'm not going to change anything else. I'm going to show up in the same places with the same people, and I'm just going to expect this muscle in my brain that I've literally just imagined. All it is an intention now. I don't want to drink, right? That little neural pathway is weak. It's not very strong. And it's versing this giant like Autobahn, this giant super freeway in your brain that is so strong that and it's so seamless and automatic in your brain that it requires no energy. So that is like, your brain is like, let's get on that Autobahn. Let's get on that automatic. It requires less energy and I don't have to think about it. That is the drinking behavior. And your little non-drinking neural pathway is like, but wait, no, I'm here. Like, I'm trying to like carve this little pathway over here in your brain. It's like, I was talking to my client about this the other day. It's like you're training for a race and you've only run 5Ks up until this point. And now you're asking yourself in this environment where to like run a marathon. You're like, come on, brain, like step up to this huge challenge of fighting your brain in this environment where it's like, no. This is what we do in this environment. So not only are you fighting mental cravings, mental narratives that say, whoa, in this place, in this time with these people, this is what I do. You're also fighting your own neurochemistry. So the brain also recognizes drinking environments, and your brain is so proactive and so adaptive that it recognizes you're about to artificially spike my dopamine with alcohol. And so what it does is it goes, whoa, we don't want to get that out of balance, right? Your brain is all about achieving homeostasis at all times. So it is so smart and so adaptive that before you even start drinking, once it recognizes the time of day, the place, the people, it pre-releases dynorphin. And again, dynorphin is like the opposite of endorphins. It pulls you below your dopamine baseline. It creates craving. and you experience that as like discomfort in your body, a little bit of anxiousness. A lot of people get this at the end of the week, on a Friday, at the end of the day, you're like, oh, it's been a long work week. I've had a lot of stress, a lot of things going on. I can't wait for that first drink, right? That is because your brain is pre-releasing that dynorphin, pulling you into craving mode, and it's creating an itch that only alcohol can scratch, right? Because it has learned that alcohol is going to give you this artificial dopamine boost. And it's going, okay, we don't want to get that out of balance, so we're going to pull you lower so that you don't get as high on that first one. That is why that first drink can feel so satisfying in these types of environments, because it has actually created a low. It has created a void, and then it wants you to fill it with the alcohol. So some of my best strategies for this discomfort that you are experiencing when you do happen to be in an environment that is like very, very triggering you to drink is dopamine stack. Dopamine the stack out of yourself. I tell everybody to pack like a little bag that has things in there that are going to stimulate all 5 of your senses and give you little incremental dopamine boosts. It can be dark chocolate. It can be something that smells good. It could be a really good lotion for your hands. It could be like a tea that you can pack, or a non-alcoholic drink in your bag, gum. You also need to have like a strategy, like, oh, I'm going to get out and I'm going to take a walk around the block. I'm going to get out of this environment, right? But most importantly, and again, I don't want this part to intimidate people. It's just that it is okay to avoid environments, people, places, times while you aren't very foundationally strong in your new behavior. You can avoid it and just say, you know what? I don't want to challenge my brain in this way, because my little neural pathway that's trying not to drink, it's not strong enough to show up in these places and not be super, super uncomfortable with it, right? And that is okay. There is nothing wrong with you, right? We are fighting an addictive substance and the impact that it's had on our brains, not just your brain, all human brains, right? So I quote, there's a study where they have actually force-fed rats alcohol, right? Because actually rats and other animals will not drink alcohol voluntarily because they recognize it as toxic. Only humans drink alcohol because we doctor it up and mix it with sugars and sweeteners and put all sorts of accoutrements in it. And we try to make it taste better, because naturally, remember when you were a kid, when you first taste wine or alcohol, you're like, that tastes like crap, right? And then they teach you, oh, but it's an acquired taste. Do you know what an acquired taste is? It's your brain recognizing the out of balance dopamine boost that it gives you and creating that craving for more. And you're like, oh, I really like the taste. No, you like the effect on your brain. You like the temporary numbing. You like the dopamine boost. And then our brain doesn't correlate it with all the negative aftermath and what happens. So this is why it is okay to shift your environments in these early phases when you are just starting to plant seeds of change for yourself. You have to recognize as the places where you're most vulnerable, and this can be sad and it can be uncomfortable because you're like, oh, but wait, I don't want to not go to these events. I don't want to not participate in these things. And so I want you to know that that's temporary. It is a temporary part of change until you get your feet on the ground, until you start to strengthen that muscle that is the non-drinking muscle, because that's really all we're doing. We are building a new neural pathway and we are fortifying it with belief that it is possible. With that placebo effect, you are fueling it with actual positive chemistry in the brain. When the brain believes it's possible, you are now opening the doors of possibility. So the information that your brain is now taking in, because it's believing this narrative that this can work for you, it's going to allow information in now that otherwise wasn't getting in before because you didn't think it was possible. Now you're opening the doors to it and you're saying, all right, information, come on in, support this intention of mine, support this belief of mine, this narrative that I'm telling myself that like, I'm going to change and I'm going to change in a positive way. And this is how I do it. This is how I get it done, right? It's incredible how this kind of stuff works. But the woo-woo science of this is called manifestation, but this is the actual science of it. This is how you create neuroplasticity, change in your brain on a subconscious level. It is shaped in 3 ways. It is shaped by you actually believing it's possible, by the content you're consuming, the information that you're taking in that's going to start to chip away chip away at these subconscious beliefs that have been stuck in there, that you haven't shined a light on, they're not even your beliefs. They have been programmed into you through culture, through your family, through just past experiences. And we haven't examined them in a really, really long time. So part of this process is to just get really, really curious and start to question and start to open your mind up and start to listen to content that is going to support you. Because ultimately, if what you want is positive change and positive growth for yourself, then you have to change things. You have to change stuff. And the change takes place up here in your brain. That is where the biggest flex is. How do you change your brain? The content you're consuming, and then the environments you're placing yourself in, right? How are you exercising your brain? Are you putting it in environments that is going to allow it to change? Or are you putting it in environments where it's butting its head up against the wall in an old behavior that it's like, wait, this is what we do in this environment. We drink. This is what we do. And so getting back to the holidays, that is why the holidays can be so challenging, because they are filled with family. They are filled with tradition. They are filled with so much expectation and alcohol. All of that combined, our brains are like, this is what you do at holidays. And so I challenge you to try and reimagine your holiday in a whole new way. We are not beholden to the tradition of alcohol. And I know it's really, really challenging. I was really lucky. I went alcohol free officially in February of 2021. So I didn't have to do the big holiday slew almost till I was, 8, 9 months alcohol free. So I had a lot more experience under my belt when I went into that holiday season. But I did do my 40th birthday. And that was, crazy. That was crazy. I think if you've been following my podcast, you'll know that I canceled a huge trip to Cabo with 3 other women who were also turning 40 at the same time, because I was only 6 weeks alcohol free. And I knew if I put myself in that environment, not only would it be torturous, but I wasn't ready, and I wasn't going to show up the way that I was cultivating in myself, the way I wanted to be for this next decade of my life. I believed in this new version of myself that was healthy, that was whole, that was such a better mom, that was such a better partner, such a better friend. And I believed in that person, and I knew that if I put myself in that environment, and it wasn't my fault, I just knew that if I was going to test my brain in that way, it wouldn't work out. And I wouldn't get to stick to this new journey that I was on. And so it really does come down to how much it matters to you. A lot of times in my coaching, when I talk to people, I say that there has to almost be a little bit of an urgency to this type of change you want to make. That is what drives you. And sometimes that urgency comes from something really bad happening, right? You're like, I don't want to ever have that happen again. Maybe it's a really bad drunk experience, a bad hangover, some super bad decisions you're making. And or it can just be coming from a really bad health scare, right? There's this urgency, like, I want to change and I want to change now, right? If you're not feeling a sense of urgency with your change, sometimes it can feel like, well, I'll start next year, or maybe I'll start in a couple weeks, or I'm going to wait until after this event and stuff. You have to find that part of yourself that wants this more than you fear the discomfort of the change. Yes, the change is uncomfortable. The change is going to be difficult. And what that difficulty is that you're experiencing in your brain, in your body, it's literally your brain just growing. It is your brain changing. It is your brain butting up against an old an old pathway, and it's saying, I really want to get on this one. And you're like rerouting the train tracks, and it takes energy and it's uncomfortable. And also, you're really raw because you're asking yourself not to rely on this comfort seeking ritual that you have for decades, that the world has pushed on you and told you, hey, this is the way you make yourself feel better. This is the way you relax. This is the way you bond with friends. This is the way you celebrate. And so you're going up against so many different ways in which this substance has been conditioned into you. So give yourself compassion that, yes, this is tough, but not only is it possible to create this type of change in yourself, there's like a step-by-step method to it. And it starts with belief. It starts with you actually starting to visualize yourself doing this and putting the wheels in motion, right? And when you start to believe it, the chemistry, the brain is going to open up. And that's when you start to fill it in with new content, the content that's going to support you, the content that's going to change you, communities that are supplying this content, other people you can talk to about this. You would be so surprised when you open yourself up to it. So many people do this secretly. So many people do this quietly and don't share with anybody that they are, trying to get alcohol free or trying to change their relationship to alcohol because there's so much shame in it. The second you start talking about it and you start enrolling others in your possibility, you would be surprised how many other people are like, oh, me too. I want to try that too. I want to, and like your ripple effect of positivity, of inspiration starts to flood out around you, and it fuels you and it supports you as well. And all of a sudden you have this net. In my running group, there was 5 women. We all used to party together and we used to run hungover together. We did wine half marathons together. And then one by one, each of us slowly started to take a break from alcohol. Now, 3 out of the 5 of us don't drink. Wait, 4. There's 6 of us. There's 6 of us. Sorry, I miscounted. 4 out of the 6 of us no longer drink alcohol. That's incredible. And it's that influence in my environment, in the content I was consuming. And the content I was consuming at the time was also my friends and the conversations we were having about it, right? Who are you surrounding yourself? What environments are you putting yourself in? What communities are you getting into? Do you have this desire to make change with yourself, but you're not changing anything else in your life? This is where you start to plant the seeds. Okay, the holidays are coming. They're going to be challenging, but you can start planting the seeds now. You can start listening to content now. You can start getting into different communities that are going to support you, that are going to help motivate you, inspire you to start this change yourself. So I am here for you. I am with you. And I want to give you guys some free resources that can help you start your journey. So I've got 2 different ones today that if you are interested in changing your relationship to alcohol, I would love to start you off with this free resource called Breaking Up with Booze. I joke that alcohol is like a bad boyfriend, right? It's like this boyfriend you keep going back to, but they make you feel like shit and, they shame you. And then you keep going back to them because you think it's going to be different this time. And then you're drunk again and you feel like shit again, right? You need to break up with booze, right? Especially if you're in your 40s and perimenopause is kicking your ass. Hormone balance is incredibly difficult during this phase of life, and alcohol is wrecking your sleep, raising your cortisol, squashing your progesterone, making your estrogen go so super crazy. It's raising your cancer risk. It's not allowing your liver to detox all of the other toxins that are coming in from our very toxic world. Alcohol is one of the number one things you can do to promote your health in your 40s. And that leads me to my next free resource, Thriving in Your 40s. So if you are more interested in the hormone balance aspect of things and maybe alcohol isn't a big a piece of your puzzle, I always say try to get alcohol free first before you start working on your hormone balance. Because again, alcohol is kicking your ass. Thriving in Your 40s is my free masterclass. It's the ultimate hormone balancing masterclass. I get into the 5 pillars of hormone balance, which is detox, movement, nutrition, nourishing your hormones, stress management, and sleep hygiene. So thank you all for being here. Go to my website, findmyselffree.com. I have a section called free resources, and that's where you can get Breaking Up with Booze, Thriving in Your 40s. And of course, if you are ready to really put the pedal to the metal and get some one-on-one coaching. I worked with a coach for 4 months at the start of my journey, and it made all the difference. It really took this intention that I had that was very, very private and very, very quiet. It put it out into the universe with this person, and I could work on it. And she had experience walking the path that I was now walking. And it's a big reason why I'm a coach today, and the big reason why I want to continue to spread this message and help as many people as I can. So I am with you. You got this. Until next time, I'll see ya. Hey team, you've just listened to an episode of Find Myself Free. And if some part of this left you wanting more, if your curiosity has been piqued and your intuition is telling you, I'm ready for more, I'm ready to look at my relationship to alcohol and find out just how much it's holding me back, then check out my coaching offers at findmyselffree.com. I offer the Brave course to kickstart your break on your own time, or you can hop on a call with me and talk about one on one coaching. I worked with a coach for 4 months at the start of my alcohol free journey, and it made all the difference. Being able to talk to someone who knew what I was going through and could help me navigate my new world gave me a foundation of support I could build on. And it's a big reason why I'm a coach today. I want to help others find their freedom and level up their health. As always, if you like this episode, please like, follow, and share. And until next time, I'm with you. You got this.